Filmmaker Mr. Siddharth Malhotra. Who's Mr. Malhotra? Actor producer Mrs. Sohum Shah. Let us hear it loud for actor Ms. Divya Dutta. And let the cheering continue for our moderator, prominent film critic and entertainment head midday, Mr. Mayank Shekhar. We have a galaxy of personalities here. You may please take your seats while I request Shri Vikram Sahaji, Joint Secretary, PNA, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, for the keynote. Sir.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. It's a real privilege for me to be sitting along such legendaries of the media entertainment sector, and they're all household names. So it's really a privilege and an honor for me to be sharing the dais with them. And at times you feel that government is sort of out of place in this bunch of very creative people. But thank you, Vicky, for having organized this, given this platform where we can share a few thoughts from us. Yesterday, some of you were there. You heard the Secretary talk about the growth of the sector and how the Ministry of I&B is trying to be an enabler in trying to promote films and entertainment, and that's already happening. So, well, online curated content, I think 5 years back when we talked about OTT, we said it was the next big thing. But today we can say it is the present biggest thing in terms of the reach, in terms of the popularity across languages, not only in India, internationally. OTT is here for everybody to stay, it stays here. And because of the low cost, internet costs, you can see people across the country. I mean, India has the lowest internet charges. The people across the country, they are taking advantage of this, the fact. And you can see everybody watching some type of content, some curated content on their mobiles in their free time or whenever they are. So that has been a real big thing for the country. And I think the most important part is that we have been producing some very good original content and value-based content. And it has also given a huge opportunity. A lot of young stars, talents, who otherwise could not find the space in the film industry, in a typical film which is being produced in Bombay and other parts of the country. They got that space, they got that opportunity. Yesterday we had a session of Jamtara, and there were young boys and girls who are there, now they become household names of Jamtara. And that is the real power of OTT, where young people, they could be a music director, it could be an actor, it could be a script writer. They're all getting the chances, their opportunities to showcase their talent. And that has come very hugely. And we in the ministry, well, the best thing which a ministry can do in such matters is to keep itself away and let the sector grow. So we talked about self-regulation, and that is what we did, trying to have a sort of self-regulatory environment, enabling the sector to grow on its own and let it self-discipline and grow. That is the best way it can grow. And that is what we try to do. And a lot of collaborative exercises have taken place between the government and the media entertainment sector, also in OTT. So talking about collaboration, I'll just take a few minutes. About less than a year, about 6 months back, on the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, an idea struck that let us develop a mobile game which can talk about the content of India's freedom struggle. So we developed that game collaborating with Zynga. Zynga is an Indian company, and it's also a multinational. So we developed that game, and the entire content was prepared by the ministry, within the ministry, with the vetting of the Indian Council of Historical Research. And in a record time of 45 days, this game was developed. And today is just about a month since we launched that game. So I thought this is a good platform, just try to tell you about what this game is all about. So it's a small video. you will just see and try to appreciate what it is, and especially for the youngsters, boys, girls, teachers, students, and even for parents. This is something which is now becoming quite popular. So can we just have a video? This game is both in English and Hindi, and we kept a few prizes just to incentivize, just let children enjoy it. So we are having some small mugs, some keychains, and also we'll call these young boys and girls, wherever they are, to our Doordarshan studios or all the radio. They can speak about themselves, speak about their experience, what they think, what is their vision. That's what we're trying to do. And we have shared it with schools also. But then what we did was, that was 5 days back, we thought we must promote in a different way, in the language which boys and girls understand. So we prepared a small song, about 30-second song. And then we were thinking, how should this song be playing? We thought it should be a rap song. So we prepared a small rap, and that is now being aired on All India Radio. So can we just listen to that 30-seconder?
It to context and also telling us all about the Azadi Quest app in a nutshell. I will now invite Mr. Gaurav Banerjee, Head Content, Disney Plus Hotstar.
Thank you to Ficky Frames. This is indeed quite an honor to be back here in person and to talk to all of you. I was just telling Lena off stage that I have been here at Ficky Frames since 2012. So personally for me, 10 years of coming to this conference. And by God, is this good to be here back in person with all of you. So thank you so much. We have a license to operate from society. When we violate its terms, this can be revoked. These words are from George Weinhauser, a lumber baron who stated this in 1977 when asked how he viewed his firm's position. And this holds true for every business and most definitely for media and entertainment, for all of us here today. We do operate from a license from society. We are accountable to society, and we must never forget this. I believe all that creativity works, it does so in the service of society. As storytellers, as content companies, all of us have this contract. At Disney Star, we have huge belief in this contract and in fact treat this as our North Star. When we have paid attention to this, focused on this contract, we have been rewarded with success. When we have lost sight of this, the punishment has also been there. So curated content in India, if I think about when did it really explode, become massive, I have to go back to early 2000s. And a big component of this were, of course, the case serials from Star. Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, Kahani, Kasauti. Siddharth is on stage here today with me. He made one of those shows, Sanjeevani. What did all of these shows have in common, other than the fact that they were on Star Plus and that they are back on Star Plus in afternoons these days? Well, all of this content was not just entertaining India, but was for the first time putting women at the center of storytelling. That was the big, massive change happening at scale for the first time in our country, right? We have a 100-year-old film industry, but it was only 20 years ago with the start of television, which put corporates, right, people who were earning their salaries by serving fans well, that this decision got taken and done at scale of putting women at the center of storylines. The impact was massive and significant. The best chronicle of it was done by two American scholars working for the University of Chicago. This entire study is available online. You can go to Google and look it up. They went to households in 2000, 2001 before they got satellite television. and then went back to the same households 3 years later after they had been exposed to all of these shows that my company and other companies like mine were making in this time. The results were this. Women's preference for male children fell by 20%. Tolerance for domestic abuse decreased by 10%. And an additional 8% of girls between the ages of 6 and 10 were now going to school. And if girls were going to school, then in those households, at least 10% of them were now being thought ready to go to college. So the impact that just this one decision that storytellers were taking on society has been this massive. Just tells us. So there is a lot of power in this room. Sometimes we lose sight of it. Now, when I think of this, right, there are 3 different phases of this that I see happening over the last 20 years. Phase 1, which started in the year 2000, is what the Chicago study was able to deeply examine. That was, when I look back today, really quite simple. It was saying that, you know what, all our posters and our lead protagonists would be women, right? So if you think about a poster of Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahut Hi, even today, you think of Smriti Irani. It's very hard to figure out who the male hero with her was. The same thing is true for all the other really, really big shows that were made at that time. So women were put at the center, they were given voice. And that was phase 1, the year it starts is 2000. Now 10, 11 years later, I had an opportunity to play a little bit of a bit role, is when the next phase started, which is where it wasn't really enough for a woman to be at the center. It wasn't enough for the woman to have a say in important family decisions. The woman did more and got support from her husband, from her in-laws, to actually go out and work and become a successful professional. To my mind, the start of this phase is a show that I did with the great Shashi Mittal. And the show is Diya Aur Baati Hum, where the husband tells the wife, saying, you have great talent, incredible ambition. And the husband is a sweet shop seller. And he tells the wife, saying, you are so good, so talented, so you can be an IPS officer. So that was the storyline of a show that was watched by millions of people in our country, right? And this is phase 2, where television was telling people that, you know what, there is no ambition, there is no job that a woman can't do. And actually it's perfectly fine in a relationship for the woman to have the more powerful position. The husband will support this, right? So now this was incredible, and this was phase 2. But even in phase 2, something was sacred. The institution of marriage, right? It wasn't yet time to question it. That started in phase 3, and that started in 2020. We are in the start of phase 3. And that started with a show that I'm incredibly proud of. It's a show called Anupama. I hope. Thank you. So Anupama is a show that is watched by 250 million people in our country over a couple of months, right? Now, the storyline of Anupama is what is incredibly powerful. Why is that so? Because Anupama comes to the conclusion that if you have no respect in your marriage, if you are truly taken for granted, bullied, misguided, cheated upon, then this marriage is no marriage for you to stay in. This marriage, it is actually a dharma to walk out of, right? And secondly, that even if you are 45, you can start a new life. You can find love again. You can find marriage again. And these are all things that Anupama has done and has been cheered upon by all of India. So I believe this is today, we are all in phase 3. And these kind of storylines are possible and probable on entertainment across linear TV and online entertainment. And this is something that doesn't get understood and acknowledged well enough. There is another point that I wish to make. Often, people like me are given a bit of a choice to say, you know what, you can either do things for profit or you can do so for the larger social good. I believe that often this is a false choice. We can and we must do both. And to explain this, I want to tell you a story about what happened to me and what my team did to me about 7 years ago. You know what, you're not marketing my show. So I was like, okay, she's going to say that, but it's okay. I'm going to take that from her. But she didn't say that. So I was a bit surprised. And I said, okay, I thought, let me only come clean now and say, hey, listen, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but we are not promoting Diya Aur Baati Hum, okay? So sorry about that. So she said, oh, come on, what's wrong with you? Don't say that. And, Diya Aur Baati Hum ratings are just going to be fine without any support. You don't worry about that. Let us worry about that, and let's ensure that, right? Don't worry. And she walked away. And, nobody on my team actually came and protested. They all felt so proud of the fact that us as a group were telling this incredible, powerful story. They did that bit more to actually make their shows work even better. So my channel's ratings actually went up. All of those shows without marketing support did better because everybody on the team was deeply motivated to be part of a larger cause. And if companies and leaders and individuals do that, greater success tends to follow. So I think we sort of compartmentalize things too simply in our minds. Some things are for social good, most things are for commercial interests. I think there are two really, really important components to any business. Our teams, people who work with us to make that business come alive. And doing the right thing has massive business benefits as well. And you know what, even if it doesn't, sometimes we should still do it because it's always much, much better to keep doing. Finally, I want to make one point. We are a 100-year-old industry. We have been here and we have been doing this at scale for several years. We are on track to become one of the largest economies in the world, right? I heard on track to be a $100 billion industry. And that's something that I totally believe in. But we need to do better when it comes to incredible creative endeavors. And it is today a Korean film that has won is now. And it's on to all of us, each one of us, to do better, to equip ourselves better, and to know that this is what our potential is.
Thank you for your valuable insights. And now I hand over to Mr. Mayank Shekhar for the panel discussion with experts, Mr. Shreyans Pandey, Mr. Nikkhil Advani, Mr. Siddharth Malhotra, Mr. Sohum Shah.